Well, it was certainly bound to happen again. No surprise. The Quantum of the Seas Royal Caribbean's cruise ship forced to cut a cruise short in Singapore. Also, the CEO of Carnival just cashed in, made some major coin on Tuesday by selling stock. And surprisingly, this cruise line has a bunch of ships ready to go in the CDC framework for the U.S. cruise restart. Let's talk about it. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Cruise News Show. I'm your host, Tony, here with the latest cruise updates. Hey, let's start today's show by quickly circling back to the conversation we were having about Saga Cruises and their requirement that all passengers have the vaccine. That certainly is the case, right? And so there are a lot of interesting points brought up in the comments, in the conversation yesterday. First of all, it's true. There's no exemption process for Saga. If you're not vaccinated, they're not going to let you cruise. A lot of people said, well, what does that mean for kids? Saga is for 50-year-old people and older. I don't know if that got missed for some folks, but yeah, so kids not a consideration yet in this process. And then I also mentioned that there wasn't a requirement for crew members to be vaccinated prior to cruising resuming in May. And seeing some of the comments, I got worried that maybe I didn't give Saga a fair enough shake on this. Let me read exactly what's on their website. There is no requirement for crew. I mean, what I said was correct, but there is a desire for crew vaccination. Let me read. Will the crew and other staff aboard the ships also have the vaccine? This was the question asked on the Saga website. Our focus in the first instance is on our guests and ensuring all of them have been vaccinated. We have comprehensive COVID-19 protocols in place to protect our crew, including quarantine and regular testing. As soon as crew can be vaccinated, they will be. So, look, it's true. There's not a mandate for the crew to be vaccinated, but it does sound like there is a desire for the crew to be vaccinated when possible. But reading this, it does seem like they would do a cruise where passengers have been required to be vaccinated, but the crew has not. Tell me if I'm reading that wrong. But anyways, I just want to make sure I gave them a fair shake because, I don't know, I felt weird reading some of the comments. All right, back to today's stories. Well, it is the 21st of January, 2021, and we find ourselves with an interesting mix of cruise news. Now, some of the only cruises that are happening right now are cruises in Asia. Royal Caribbean successfully having cruises to nowhere for people that live in Singapore, and sadly, their latest cruise on the Quantum of the Seas, well, it was cut short, but interestingly, not cut short by COVID, cut short by a medical emergency, which is fairly common in the cruise space, but it's something we haven't heard about in a while. Passengers were notified in the evening that a medical emergency would require the Quantum of the Seas cruise to be cut short by about 7 hours. The captain came on the announcement speaker and said this was not COVID related, but they would be turning around and heading back to Singapore. The casinos closed down, the shops closed down. They interviewed one lady on the cruise ship. She said it was funny. It was kind of like a mad rush to get your chips cashed in at the casino. They had about a half an hour to get all of that done as they returned to port. So the Quantum of the Seas returning to port about 7 hours early because of a medical emergency. The story is notable because it seems like a story of old. This is one of the things that happens in cruising with some sort of frequency, that a medical emergency can either alter an itinerary or alter the schedule of a cruise ship. And that's what we see happening here on the Quantum of the Seas. Not that COVID's not a medical emergency, but that's a different kind of medical emergency. This story's weird because when I first saw the headline, I thought, and then I got excited. Exciting? Is that right? I mean, I feel bad for whoever had the medical emergency, but it's good to have a story where a cruise gets altered and it's not COVID. Is that the place that we're at? I know that sounds crazy. Is that the place that we're at? But yeah, so Quantum of the Seas had to turn around, but don't shut all of cruising down. It wasn't a COVID thing. So there you go. Now, there is a cruise line out there that has 17 ships in the green status on the CDC's website for the framework for conditional sailing. Who do you think that is? But first, let's talk about the CEO of Carnival Corporation, Arnold Donald. Arnold Donald got paid on Tuesday by selling a bunch of stock. He sold 62,639 shares of stock for $21.12. That seems like a lot. All right, 62,639 times $21.12. $1,322,935.68. Ooh-wee! That's a nice payday. Now, don't get out the pitchforks and the torches. There's nothing nefarious going on here. This is how it works at the C level of corporations. Part of their compensation is stocks. And it's not unusual for executives in large corporations to have an annual stock sale where they recoup part of their compensation by selling the stock that they have been given. Arnold Donald sold stock in 2020, last year around the same time for a much higher price. And yeah, so this is really about just the guy getting paid. I know that's a lot of money, but yeah, and he still has a bunch of stock left. So not super unusual, but a nice payday. A nice payday. Let's just say that. Now, look, I don't have any levers to pull where I can sell 62,000 shares of stock, but one thing I do have control over is my invitation to you for this virtual cruising community. Join us here at Lido Loca. Be in the know. If you love that cruise life, if you like staying up to date, please consider subscribing with the notification bell on. That way you don't miss out on any of the shows. Thank you in advance. All right, so which cruise line has the most cruise ships ready to go inside of the framework for conditional sailing? Now, this is a chart that the CDC updates weekly. The update I'm going to tell you about was just done yesterday, January the 20th, and it's under, if you ever want to look for this, I get asked the question a lot. I'll leave the link in the first comment, but this is under, if you got to Google CDC cruise commercial travel. It'll be the first link that you find. This is one of those processes that have been in play for quite a while. The CDC set up a system where cruise lines could validate whether or not they could move their crew on and off cruise ships via commercial travel. This is the entry point for the framework, and we've seen a lot of ships come on board. I remember a month or two ago, I was like, 30 ships are ready to go. Well, the total now, 55 ships are ready to go. There are 66 ships trying to get ready to go, and of those 66, 55 of them have a green status on the CDC website. Let's break them down by cruise line. Which cruise line has the most ships ready to go? Now, honorable mention, Bahamas Paradise. They've got 100% of their fleet ready to go. Sad story, though. Bahamas Paradise, they only have one cruise ship left. They recently jettisoned the Grand Celebration, which is an old Carnival cruise ship. They got rid of that, but the one cruise ship they have, they're ready to go. Let me just rattle them off for you. I will go from the least amount of ships to the most amount of ships. Do you have one in mind? Who's got the most amount of ships? There are other cruise lines that have one ship ready to go. Oceania, one ship ready to go. Norwegian Cruise Line, one ship ready to go. Those are the onesies. MSC, 2 cruise ships ready to go. They've only got 2 in the mix, 2 ready to go. Disney Cruise Line, also 100%. They've got 3 ships in the mix, 3 ships ready to go. Holland America Line, 4 ships in the process here in the United States. Followed closely by Princess with 5 cruise ships. And then rounding out that kind of midsection there, Celebrity Cruise Line. They have 8 cruise ships in the process with the green status. Now come the big numbers. Who's it going to be? Royal Caribbean is going to be Carnival. Those are the 2 that we have left. Who has the most cruise ships ready to go? Well, Carnival has 13. Can Royal beat 13? Can they beat 13? Yes. Royal Caribbean, 17 cruise ships in the process with a green status. So what does that mean for the cruise restart? We know that currently until at least November, to get restarted cruising in the United States, cruise lines have to work their way through the framework for conditional sailing, which includes simulated cruises. There's a whole lot of hoops to jump through. We know that. But this is a good sign. 55 cruise ships as of today trying to work through that process. And of course, we've seen some cancellations already this month, but there still are a few cruise lines that have not canceled April yet, Carnival being one of them. So, you know, we're looking for the positive signs out there. Positive signs, 55 cruise ships. That's a positive sign. Cruise lines that have yet to cancel into April. That's a potential positive sign. Now we're just waiting for somebody to tell us there's a test sailing. Could somebody call me? I'll put my number out there. Are there test sailings? I've heard rumblings. You know, you got to take it with a grain of salt when you just get a random comment like, oh, I know they're doing a test. I do appreciate that information, but I keep looking. Does somebody have like an itinerary or something valid, double check? That'd be nice. I don't know of any test cruises yet, but certainly ships in the process. I do have a few questions for you. First, when I was talking about the Quantum of the Seas returning, did you think it was going to be a COVID story? I'm worried that this is where we're at in the world, that every time a ship turns around, we feel like it's going to be a COVID story. I wonder how long it's going to take us to get beyond that. Years, probably. I don't know. Did you get irate a little bit when you heard that CEO Arnold Donald got paid, even though it's not really that out of cycle, not really that unusual? And like I said, were you surprised who had the most cruise ships ready to go? Leave a comment below. Thank you so much for watching the show today. Please show your support by hitting the like button. This is Tony with Lido Loca, and until the next time, we'll see you on the Lido. Bye.